You've disgusted me since day one," her husband said, on their anniversary. She just smiled. The words hung in the air like poison gas, filling every corner of the restaurant that had once been their special place. Natasha Williams sat perfectly still, her dark skin glowing under the soft candlelight, her hands folded neatly on the white tablecloth. The smile never left her lips, even as her world crumbled around her like a house of cards in a hurricane. 10 years. 10 years of marriage, of shared dreams, of building a life together. And Ryan was telling her that every single day had been a lie. "Did you hear me, Natasha?" Ryan's voice cut through her thoughts. His blue eyes were cold, colder than she'd ever seen them. "I said you've disgusted me since day one. Since the moment I said I do, I've regretted it." The other diners in the restaurant continued their conversations, unaware that a woman's heart was being torn apart just 3 tables away. The soft jazz music kept playing. The candles kept flickering. Life went on even as Natasha stopped. "I heard you," she said quietly, her voice steady despite the earthquake happening inside her chest. "I'm just wondering why you chose today to tell me this." Ryan laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Because I can't pretend anymore. Because Monica and I are tired of sneaking around. Because you deserve to know the truth." Monica. Her best friend since college. The woman who had been her maid of honor. The woman who had held her hand through her mother's funeral. The woman who had been coming to their house for dinner every Sunday for the past 10 years. "How long?" Natasha asked, though part of her already knew the answer would destroy her. 2 years, Ryan said, not even having the decency to look ashamed. 2 years of actually being happy. 2 years of being with someone who doesn't bore me to tears. Natasha's smile grew wider, and for a moment Ryan looked confused. He had expected tears. He had expected screaming. He had expected her to fall apart right there in front of everyone. Instead she looked almost pleased. 2 years, she repeated, nodding slowly. "And you've been planning this conversation for how long? Does it matter?" Ryan snapped. "The point is it's over. We're getting divorced. Monica and I are going to be together, and you can go back to whatever sad little life you had before you trapped me into marriage." Trapped him. As if she had forced him to propose. As if she had held a gun to his head at the altar. As if loving him completely and building a home with him had been some kind of prison sentence. "I trapped you?" Natasha asked, her voice still calm, still steady. "By loving you? By supporting your career? By taking care of your mother when she was sick? By being faithful to you for 10 years? By being boring?" Ryan shot back. "By being predictable. By being everything that Monica isn't. She's exciting. She's fun. She makes me feel alive in ways you never could." The waiter approached their table, probably to ask if they wanted dessert, but something in Natasha's expression made him turn around and walk away. "Smart man." "I see," Natasha said, finally reaching for her wine glass. Her hand was perfectly steady. "And what makes you think I'll just let you go? Let you both go on with your lives like nothing happened?" Ryan's confidence faltered for just a second. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Natasha said, taking a sip of her wine, "that you seem to think this is going to be easy. That you can just walk away from 10 years of marriage, from vows, from a life we built together, and face no consequences." "There's nothing you can do about it," Ryan said, but his voice had lost some of its edge. "We're getting divorced either way. You can make it easy or hard, but the result will be the same." Natasha set down her wine glass and leaned forward slightly. Her dark eyes met his, and for the first time that evening, Ryan saw something in them that made him uncomfortable. Something that looked almost like anticipation. "You know what the funny thing is, Ryan?" she said softly. "I've actually been expecting this conversation for months." Ryan's face went pale. "What? Oh, you didn't think I knew?" Natasha's smile became almost pitying. "About the late nights at work? About the sudden interest in going to the gym? About the new cologne? About the way you started password protecting your phone? You knew." "I've known for 6 months," Natasha said, and watched as the color drained completely from Ryan's face. "I've been watching you. Both of you. Waiting to see how far you'd take it." Ryan's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "If you knew, why didn't you say anything?" "Because I wanted to see what kind of man I married," Natasha replied. "I wanted to see if you'd have the decency to come clean, or if you'd just keep lying to my face every single day." "And now you know," Ryan said, trying to regain his composure. "Now I know," Natasha agreed. "I know that the man I married is a coward. A liar. A cheat. Someone who would rather sneak around behind my back than have an honest conversation about our marriage. Our marriage was already over," Ryan protested. We've been like roommates for years. No, Natasha said firmly. You checked out of our marriage years ago. I kept trying. I kept hoping. I kept believing that we could work through whatever was wrong. But you had already decided I wasn't worth the effort. Ryan shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Look, this doesn't have to be ugly. We can split everything 50-50 and go our separate ways. You can keep the house, I'll take the condo. We both move on. Natasha's laugh was soft, musical, and absolutely terrifying. Oh, Ryan. Sweet, stupid Ryan. You really think it's going to be that simple? What do you mean? I mean, Natasha said, standing up and placing her napkin on the table, that you have no idea what you've just unleashed. You think you can humiliate me, disrespect me, betray me, and then dictate the terms of how this ends. She leaned down close to his ear, her voice barely above a whisper. You're about to learn something very important about the woman you've been underestimating for 10 years. I'm not the weak, boring little wife you think I am. And by the time I'm done with you, you're going to wish you had never met me. Ryan grabbed her wrist as she started to walk away. Are you threatening me? Natasha looked down at his hand on her arm, then back at his face. Her smile was serene, almost angelic. I don't make threats, Ryan. I make promises. And I promise you this, you're going to regret this conversation for the rest of your life. She gently pulled her arm free and walked toward the exit, her head held high, her back straight. Every step was measured, controlled, elegant. She looked like a queen leaving court after sentencing a traitor to death. Ryan sat frozen at the table watching her go. Other diners glanced at him curiously, probably wondering why he looked like he'd seen a ghost. The waiter finally approached, cautiously. Sir? Is everything all right? Would you like the check? Ryan nodded numbly, his mind racing. Something had just happened, something he didn't fully understand. He had expected Natasha to crumble. He had expected tears, pleading, maybe even anger. But that smile, that calm, knowing smile. For the first time since he'd started planning this conversation, Ryan felt a chill of fear run down his spine. What did she mean she'd been expecting this for months? What did she mean she'd been watching them? And most importantly, what was she planning to do about it? Outside the restaurant, Natasha sat in her car for a moment, allowing herself to feel the full weight of what had just happened. 10 years of her life, gone. Her marriage over. Her best friend revealed as a traitor. But instead of the crushing despair she had expected, she felt something else entirely. Something that started as a small spark in her chest and grew into a warm, steady flame. Relief. And something else. Something that felt surprisingly like excitement. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts until she found the number she was looking for. The call was answered on the second ring. Hello, Mr. Peterson? This is Natasha Williams. I think it's time we had that conversation you mentioned. The next morning, Natasha woke up in what used to be their bedroom, but now felt like a museum exhibit of a dead marriage. Ryan's side of the bed was empty and unmade. He had come home sometime after midnight, grabbed some clothes and left again without saying a word. Probably went straight to Monica's apartment. Natasha lay there for a long moment, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the tears to come. But they didn't. Instead, she felt that same strange sense of clarity she'd experienced at the restaurant. Like someone had just taken off a blindfold she hadn't realized she was wearing. She got up and made coffee, going through the motions of her normal morning routine. But nothing felt normal anymore. Every photo on the mantel looked like a lie. Every shared memory felt tainted. The coffee mug Ryan had bought her for their 3rd anniversary, the one that said "World's Best Wife," sat in the cabinet, mocking her. Her phone buzzed. A text from Monica. Hey girl, wanna grab lunch today? I have so much to tell you. Natasha stared at the message for a full minute. The casual tone. The exclamation points. The fake enthusiasm. How long had Monica been texting her like this while sleeping with her husband? How many times had they shared lunch while Monica was hiding this massive secret? She typed back, sorry, busy day. Maybe another time. The response came immediately, bummer. Rain check then. Love you. Love you. The words made Natasha's stomach turn. She set the phone aside and tried to process the magnitude of the betrayal. It wasn't just Ryan's affair. It was Monica's deception. It was years of fake friendship, fake concern, fake love. She thought about all the times Monica had asked about her marriage. How are things with Ryan? She would say, her head tilted with fake concern. You two seem a little distant lately. All while she was the reason for that distance. Natasha walked to her home office, a small room Ryan had always complained was unnecessary. Why do you need an office? He used to say. You work from home sometimes, just use the kitchen table. But she had insisted, and now she was grateful for this private space. She opened her laptop and pulled up the folder she had created 6 months ago. The folder labeled Research. Inside were screenshots, photos, documents, and detailed notes. Everything she had been quietly collecting since the day she first suspected Ryan was cheating. The evidence was overwhelming. Credit card statements showing expensive dinners at restaurants she'd never been to. Hotel charges on days when Ryan claimed to be working late. Receipts for jewelry she'd never received. Text messages she'd managed to see when Ryan left his phone unattended. But the most damning evidence was the photos. Photos she'd taken from her car, parked across the street from Monica's apartment building. Photos of Ryan's car in Monica's parking spot. Photos of them kissing goodbye in the morning. Photos of them holding hands as they walked to restaurants in neighborhoods far from where they might be recognized. She had been building a case without even knowing it, documenting the affair like a private investigator. Part of her had hoped she was wrong, that there was some innocent explanation. But a bigger part of her had known the truth and had been preparing for this moment. Her phone rang. It was her sister Angela. "Girl, you sound weird," Angela said as soon as Natasha picked up. "What's wrong?" Natasha hesitated. Angela lived 3 states away and they only talked once a week, usually on Sundays. This was Thursday. "Ryan and I are getting divorced," Natasha said, and was surprised by how matter-of-fact she sounded. "What? Oh my God, Tasha, what happened? Are you okay? Do you need me to come there?" "I'm fine," Natasha said and realized she meant it. "He's been having an affair with Monica." The silence on the other end of the line stretched for so long that Natasha wondered if the call had dropped. "Monica?" Angela finally said. "You're Monica? Your best friend Monica? That's the one. That backstabbing, two-faced." Angela's voice trailed off into a string of words that would make a sailor blush. "How long?" 2 years apparently." 2 years? And you just found out?" "No," Natasha said quietly. "I've known for 6 months." Another long silence. "You've known for 6 months and you didn't tell me?" "I kept hoping I was wrong. Or that Ryan would come to his senses. Or that Monica would grow a conscience." Natasha laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I was an idiot." "You were not an idiot," Angela said fiercely. "You were loyal. You were hopeful. You were everything a wife and friend should be. They're the idiots. They're the ones who threw away something precious." "Ryan told me I disgusted him," Natasha said, and for the first time since the restaurant she felt her voice waver. "He said I've disgusted him since day one." "That's not true and you know it," Angela said. "He's just trying to make himself feel better about what he's done. Cheaters always try to blame their partners. It's easier than taking responsibility. Maybe he's right though. Maybe I did get boring. Maybe I stopped trying." "Stop it right now," Angela commanded. "I've seen you two together. I've seen how you looked at him, how you took care of him. You were a good wife, Tasha. You were faithful and loving and supportive. If he couldn't appreciate that, that's his problem, not yours." Natasha felt tears threaten for the first time since the restaurant. But she blinked them back. She didn't have time for tears. "I need to ask you something," she said to Angela. "And I need you to be honest with me. Always. Did you ever suspect? When you visited, when you saw us together, did anything seem off?" Angela was quiet for a moment. I wondered sometimes. The last few visits, Ryan seemed different. Distracted. And there were a couple of times when his phone would ring and he'd leave the room to answer it. But I never would have guessed this. What about Monica? Did you ever notice anything when she was around? Now that you mention it." Angela's voice trailed off. "Last Christmas, when we were all together, she kept asking personal questions about your marriage. I thought she was just being a good friend, but looking back, some of her questions were pretty inappropriate." "Like what?" "Like asking if you and Ryan were still intimate. If you were happy. If you ever thought about what you'd do if Ryan wasn't in the picture anymore. At the time, I figured she was just being nosy, but now it seems like she was fishing for information." "Yeah. God, Tasha, I'm so sorry. I should have said something." "It's not your fault," Natasha said. "I don't think any of us wanted to believe people we trusted could be capable of this." They talked for another hour, with Angela offering to fly out immediately. But Natasha declined. She needed to handle this herself in her own way. After hanging up, Natasha sat in her office, surrounded by evidence of her husband's betrayal, and made a decision. She wasn't going to be the victim in this story. She wasn't going to be the poor, abandoned wife who everyone pitied. She was going to be something else entirely. She picked up her phone and called the number she had looked up weeks ago but never had the courage to dial. Peterson and Associates, a crisp voice answered. Hello, this is Natasha Williams. I'd like to schedule a consultation with Mr. Peterson regarding a divorce. Of course, Mrs. Williams. Mr. Peterson has an opening tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Would that work for you? That would be perfect. And may I ask who referred you to our firm? Natasha smiled, remembering the conversation that had planted this seed months ago. It had been at a work conference, talking to a colleague who had gone through a messy divorce. You want someone who fights dirty when the other side plays dirty? Her colleague had said. Richard Peterson doesn't just win cases. He destroys people who deserve to be destroyed. I'm self-referred, Natasha said. But I've heard excellent things about Mr. Peterson's thoroughness. Excellent. We'll see you tomorrow at 2. After hanging up, Natasha opened a new document on her computer and began typing. She titled it The Plan, and started making a list of everything she knew, everything she could prove, and everything she intended to do about it. By the time she finished, 3 hours had passed and she had filled 8 pages with detailed notes, timelines, and strategies. She felt more focused and energized than she had in months. Her phone buzzed with another text from Monica. You're being so mysterious lately. Everything okay? Natasha stared at the message, then deleted it without responding. She had nothing to say to Monica. Not yet. But soon she would have plenty to say. And when that time came, Monica was going to wish she had never heard the name Natasha Williams. Richard Peterson's office looked exactly like what Natasha had expected from one of the city's most ruthless divorce attorneys. Dark wood, leather chairs, and walls lined with law books and framed victories. The man himself was in his 50s, gray-haired, with sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. Mrs. Williams, he said, gesturing for her to sit across from his massive desk. I understand you're interested in divorcing your husband. I am, Natasha said, placing a thick folder on his desk. And I want to make sure he gets exactly what he deserves. Peterson raised an eyebrow and opened the folder. His expression remained neutral as he flipped through the photos, documents, and detailed timeline Natasha had prepared. But she could see something change in his eyes as he absorbed the extent of her evidence. This is very thorough, he said finally. How long did it take you to compile this? 6 months, Natasha replied. I'm a research analyst by profession. When I suspect something, I investigate it properly. And your husband doesn't know you have all this? He has no idea. As far as he knows, I just found out about the affair yesterday. Peterson leaned back in his chair, studying her. What exactly are you hoping to achieve, Mrs. Williams? I want everything, Natasha said simply. The house, the investments, his pension, everything we built together. And I want to make sure his affair costs him more than just his marriage. Adultery doesn't carry the same weight in divorce proceedings as it used to, Peterson warned. Courts are more interested in equitable distribution than punishment. I understand that, Natasha said. But I'm not just talking about the divorce. She reached into her purse and pulled out another folder, this one even thicker than the first. What's this? Peterson asked. My husband works for Meridian Financial, Natasha explained. He's a senior account manager with access to significant client funds. About 3 months ago, I started noticing some irregularities in our personal finances. Peterson opened the second folder and his eyebrows shot up. These are bank statements. His personal account, yes. Notice the deposits that don't correspond to his salary or bonuses. And the dates, they all coincide with major client transactions at his company. Peterson studied the documents more carefully. Are you suggesting your husband has been embezzling? I'm not suggesting anything, Natasha said. I'm showing you evidence and letting you draw your own conclusions. How did you obtain these records? We have joint accounts and I'm listed as an authorized user on several of his credit cards. Everything I've shown you was legally accessible to me as his wife. Peterson was quiet for several minutes, going through the financial documents with the focused attention of someone who understood their implications. If these irregularities are what they appear to be, he said finally, your husband could be facing criminal charges. That's not my concern, Natasha said. My concern is protecting myself and ensuring I get what I deserve from our marriage. Mrs. Williams, I have to ask, what's your endgame here? Are you looking for revenge or resolution? Natasha considered the question carefully. I'm looking for justice. My husband betrayed me in the most intimate way possible. My best friend participated in that betrayal. They both made me look like a fool for 2 years. Now they want to walk away from the wreckage of my life and start fresh with each other, while I'm left to pick up the pieces. And you don't think that's fair. I know it's not fair, Natasha corrected. But more than that, I don't think it's smart. They both underestimated me. They both assumed I was too weak or too naive to fight back. They're about to learn how wrong they were. Peterson smiled for the first time since she'd entered his office. I think we're going to work very well together, Mrs. Williams. They spent the next 2 hours going over strategy. Peterson explained the divorce process, the timeline, and what Natasha could realistically expect. But more importantly, he explained how to protect herself from any potential fallout from Ryan's financial irregularities. The key is timing, Peterson said. We need to file for divorce and secure your assets before anyone else discovers what your husband has been doing. If his company finds out first, or if federal investigators get involved, it could complicate things significantly. How long do we have? Hard to say. Could be weeks, could be months. But I wouldn't wait too long to make your move. What about Monica? Natasha asked. What about her? Can we do anything legally to hold her accountable for her part in this? Peterson shook his head. Adultery isn't a crime, Mrs. Williams. And while some states still allow alienation of affection lawsuits, this isn't one of them. So she gets away with it completely? Legally, yes. But that doesn't mean there won't be other consequences for her actions. Natasha nodded. She had expected as much, but it was worth asking. I have one more question, she said. How do we handle this without tipping off Ryan that I know more than I'm letting on? Very carefully, Peterson said. For now, you continue acting like nothing has changed. Don't confront him about the financial irregularities. Don't let on that you've been investigating him. Just be the grieving wife who's trying to process her husband's betrayal. That's going to be difficult. I'm sure it will be. But it's essential. If Ryan suspects you know about his other activities, he might do something desperate. Transfer money, destroy evidence, even flee the jurisdiction. They scheduled another meeting for the following week, and Peterson gave Natasha a list of documents to gather. Financial records, insurance policies, property deeds, everything that would be relevant to the divorce proceedings. One last thing, Peterson said as she was leaving. Be careful, Mrs. Williams. Men who steal money and cheat on their wives aren't always predictable when they're cornered. Make sure you're protecting yourself in every way possible. Natasha nodded and left the office feeling more confident than she had in months. She had a plan, she had an ally, and she had evidence. Now she just had to execute everything perfectly. When she got home, Ryan's car was in the driveway. She took a deep breath and prepared to play her role. She found him in the kitchen making a sandwich. He looked up when she entered, his expression guarded. Where were you? He asked. Shopping, Natasha lied smoothly. I needed some air. We need to talk, Ryan said. I'm not ready to talk, Natasha replied, which was actually true. I'm still processing everything you told me yesterday. Ryan looked relieved. Okay, I understand. Take your time. Are you staying here tonight? She asked. I thought I'd sleep in the guest room. For now. Fine. They moved around each other carefully for the rest of the evening, like strangers sharing a space. Ryan spent most of his time on his phone, probably texting Monica. Natasha spent her time researching divorce law and asset protection strategies. At one point, Ryan's phone rang and he stepped outside to take the call. Natasha watched him through the window, noting his body language. He seemed agitated, running his hand through his hair and pacing the patio. When he came back inside, he looked stressed. Everything okay? Natasha asked, playing the concerned wife. Just work stuff, Ryan said quickly. Nothing important. But Natasha could see the worry in his eyes. Something was making him nervous, and she had a pretty good idea what it was. That night, lying in bed alone, Natasha thought about the conversation with Peterson. He was right about the timing being crucial. She needed to move quickly but carefully. She also thought about his warning to be careful. She had never seen Ryan as dangerous, but then again she had never seen him as a thief or a cheater either. People were capable of surprising you in all sorts of ways. She made a mental note to start taking precautions. Maybe it was paranoid, but better safe than sorry. Her phone buzzed with a text from Monica. I'm worried about you. You've been so quiet lately. Want to meet for coffee tomorrow? Natasha stared at the message for a long time before responding. Can't tomorrow. Maybe next week. Is everything okay with you and Ryan? The question made Natasha's blood boil. The fake concern, the probing, the pretense that Monica cared about her marriage while actively destroying it. We're fine, Natasha typed back. Just busy. Okay, but call me if you need anything. Love you. There it was again. Love you. From the woman who had been sleeping with her husband for 2 years. Natasha deleted the conversation and turned off her phone. She had work to do and she couldn't afford to be distracted by anger. Tomorrow she would start gathering the documents Peterson had requested. She would continue playing the role of the unsuspecting wife. And she would begin putting together the pieces of her new life, a life without Ryan, without Monica, and without the naive trust that had made her vulnerable to their betrayal. But first she was going to get some sleep. Because tomorrow was the beginning of the end, and she needed to be sharp for what was coming. 3 days later, Natasha was at the grocery store when she literally ran into someone at the end of the cereal aisle. Coffee went everywhere, shopping lists scattered, and apologies flew. "I'm so sorry," the man said, crouching down to help her gather her scattered items. "I wasn't watching where I was going." "It's okay," Natasha said, then looked up into familiar eyes. "Tyler?" Tyler Morrison straightened up, recognition dawning on his face. "Natasha? Wow, what are the chances?" Tyler had been Monica's fiancé until about 8 months ago. Their engagement had ended suddenly, with Monica claiming they had grown apart and wanted different things. Natasha had tried to be supportive, listening to Monica's complaints about Tyler being too serious and not spontaneous enough. Looking at him now, Natasha felt a stab of guilt. Tyler was handsome in a quiet way, with kind eyes and a genuine smile. He had always been polite to her at the few gatherings where they'd met, and he had seemed devoted to Monica. "How are you doing?" Natasha asked, genuinely curious. She hadn't seen him since the engagement ended. "I'm better now," Tyler said, his smile fading slightly. "How about you? How's married life?" The question hit her like a punch to the stomach. She must have made a face because Tyler immediately looked concerned. "Are you okay?" Natasha looked around the grocery store at the normal people doing normal shopping for their normal lives, and suddenly felt overwhelmed by the weight of her secret. "Actually," she said, surprising herself, "would you like to get coffee sometime? I mean real coffee, not the kind that ends up on the floor." Tyler studied her face carefully. "Is everything all right, Natasha?" "No," she said honestly. "Everything is definitely not all right." They agreed to meet at a coffee shop across town the next afternoon. Natasha spent the morning second-guessing herself. Tyler was Monica's ex-fiancé. Getting involved with him, even just as a friend, could complicate things. But when she arrived at the coffee shop and saw him sitting at a corner table, looking as lost as she felt, she knew she had made the right decision. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. "Of course," Tyler replied. "You looked like you needed someone to talk to." They ordered coffee and sat in awkward silence for a moment. Finally, Tyler spoke. "So, what's going on? And please don't say, nothing. I've been where you are right now. Where I am right now. Finding out someone you trusted has been lying to you." Natasha's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. "What do you mean?" Tyler was quiet for a long moment, as if deciding how much to reveal. Finally he sighed. "Monica didn't break up with me because we grew apart," he said. "She broke up with me because she was cheating on me. With your husband." The words hung in the air between them like a live wire. Natasha set down her coffee cup very carefully. "You knew." "I found out about 3 months before she ended our engagement. I confronted her, and she chose him over me." 3 months. Natasha did the math in her head. That would mean Tyler had known about the affair for almost a year. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. Tyler's laugh was bitter. "Tell you what? That your husband and my fiancé were having an affair? Do you have any idea how that conversation would have gone? You would have thought I was crazy or lying or trying to cause trouble." He was right, and they both knew it. If Tyler had approached her a year ago with accusations about Ryan and Monica, she would have defended them both and probably never spoken to Tyler again. "Besides," Tyler continued, "I kept hoping it would end. That Monica would come to her senses and realize she was throwing away something good for a fantasy. But she didn't. No, she chose the fantasy. And I let her go." They sat in silence for a while, processing the shared weight of their betrayal. "How did you find out?" Tyler asked eventually. Natasha told him about the restaurant, about Ryan's cruel words, about the confrontation that had finally brought everything into the open. But she didn't mention the evidence she'd been collecting, or her meetings with Peterson, or her plans for revenge. "I'm sorry," Tyler said when she finished. "I know how much it hurts to realize someone you loved never really existed." "Is that how you see it? That Monica never really existed?" "The Monica I fell in love with wouldn't have been capable of what she did," Tyler said. "So either I was completely wrong about who she was, or she changed into someone I don't recognize. Either way, the woman I was going to marry is gone. And Ryan? Natasha asked. Do you think he changed, or was I just blind to who he really was? I think some people are good at hiding their true nature until they don't need to anymore, Tyler said. Ryan had you. He had security, respectability, a wife who loved him. But he also wanted excitement, novelty, the thrill of doing something forbidden. So he kept both. Until he got tired of the juggling act. Natasha nodded, understanding dawning. He didn't leave me for Monica. He's leaving me because he doesn't need to hide anymore. And Monica. Tyler's voice trailed off. Monica gets to feel like she won, Natasha finished. She gets to be the exciting woman who stole someone else's husband. They both fell silent again, lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Tyler spoke. What are you going to do now? Natasha looked at him carefully, weighing her words. Something about Tyler's quiet pain, his obvious honesty about the situation, made her want to trust him. But she had trusted the wrong people before. I'm getting divorced, she said carefully. And I'm making sure I get what I deserve from the marriage. That sounds reasonable. What about you? Have you moved on? Tyler smiled sadly. I thought I had. I've been dating someone for a few months. Sarah. She's nice, uncomplicated, honest. Everything Monica wasn't. But I realized I was dating her because she was safe, not because I cared about her the way she deserved. So I ended it last week. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was the right thing to do. She deserves someone who's actually present, not someone who's still processing betrayal. They talked for another hour, sharing stories about their relationships, their hopes, their disappointments. It felt good to talk to someone who understood the specific pain of being betrayed by people you trusted completely. As they were getting ready to leave, Tyler hesitated. Can I ask you something? He said. Sure. Are you planning to just let them be happy together? The question caught Natasha off guard. There was something in Tyler's tone, something that suggested he might not be as accepting of the situation as he appeared. What do you mean? I mean, they destroyed 2 relationships, hurt 2 people, and now they get to ride off into the sunset together like nothing happened. Doesn't that bother you? Of course it bothers me. So what are you going to do about it? Natasha studied his face. What would you want me to do about it? Tyler was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different. Harder. I want them to face consequences for what they did. I want them to understand that actions have prices. I want them to feel even a fraction of the pain they caused us. And if they don't? Then they win. Completely. They get love, happiness, and a fresh start while we get therapy and trust issues. Natasha felt something shift inside her chest. Tyler understood. He got it in a way that even Angela couldn't because he had lived through the same betrayal. What if I told you, she said carefully, that there might be ways to make sure they face some consequences? Tyler's eyes sharpened. What kind of consequences? The kind that come from making bad choices and trusting the wrong people. I'm listening. Natasha made a decision that would change everything. There are some things about Ryan that Monica doesn't know, she said. Things that could make their relationship complicated. What kind of things? The kind that could land him in jail. Tyler's coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. Are you serious? Dead serious. What has he done? Natasha looked around the coffee shop, making sure no one was listening, then leaned forward. I think Ryan has been stealing money from his company. Significant amounts of money. And I think he's been using it to fund his affair lifestyle. Tyler set down his cup carefully. How do you know this? Because I've been watching our finances carefully since I suspected the affair. There have been deposits that don't match his salary, expenses that don't make sense, patterns that suggest he's been moving money around. Have you reported it? Not yet. I'm still gathering evidence. Why are you telling me this? Natasha took a deep breath. Because Monica doesn't know. She thinks she's getting a successful, wealthy man who chose her over his boring wife. She has no idea she's actually getting a criminal who's about to lose everything. And you want to make sure she finds out. I want to make sure the truth comes out. All of it. The affair, the theft, everything. Tyler was quiet for several minutes, processing this information. What would you need from me? He asked finally. I need someone who knows Monica well enough to predict how she'll react when her perfect new life falls apart. I need someone who understands how she thinks, what she values, what she's afraid of. You want me to help you destroy her relationship with Ryan. I want to help you understand that their relationship is built on lies and theft. What happens when those truths come out is up to them. Tyler smiled for the first time since they'd sat down, and it wasn't a particularly nice smile. Monica hates being embarrassed, he said. She cares more about how things look than how they actually are. If Ryan gets arrested, if there's a scandal, if people find out she's been dating a criminal, she'll run. She'll more than run. She'll deny she ever knew him. She'll throw him under the bus to protect her own reputation. And Ryan? Ryan's arrogant. He thinks he's smarter than everyone else. He probably believes he'll never get caught, and if he does get caught, he'll find a way to talk his way out of it. So when Monica abandons him, he'll realize he gave up his marriage, his security, and his freedom for someone who was only interested in him as long as he could provide her with excitement and financial stability. They looked at each other across the table, and Natasha saw her own determination reflected in Tyler's eyes. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Tyler asked. "Once we start down this path, there's no going back." "There's already no going back," Natasha replied. "They made sure of that when they decided to betray us." "Okay then." Tyler extended his hand across the table. "Partners?" Natasha shook his hand, sealing their alliance. "Partners." As they left the coffee shop, Natasha felt lighter than she had in months. She wasn't alone in this anymore. She had an ally who understood her pain and shared her desire for justice. More importantly, she had someone who knew Monica's weaknesses as well as she knew Ryan's. Together, they were going to make sure that Ryan and Monica got exactly what they deserved. Over the next 2 weeks, Natasha and Tyler met regularly, always at different locations, always careful not to be seen together. They developed a friendship built on shared betrayal and a common goal, but there was nothing romantic about their alliance. They were two wounded people helping each other heal by ensuring their betrayers faced consequences. Tyler proved to be invaluable in understanding Monica's psychology. He knew her fears, her insecurities, her desperate need for social approval. More importantly, he knew her patterns. "Monica always has an exit strategy," he told Natasha over lunch at a small restaurant across town. "She never commits to anything unless she's sure it's going to benefit her. If she's with Ryan, it's because she believes he can give her something she wants." What does she want? Security. Status. The appearance of success. Monica grew up poor and she's terrified of going back to that. She wants a man who can provide for her, who looks good on paper, who makes her feel important. Ryan fits that description. On the surface, yes. But if she finds out he's a criminal, if she realizes being with him could damage her reputation or put her at legal risk, she'll leave him. She'll more than leave him. She'll make sure everyone knows she was the victim, that she had no idea what he was doing. This insight helped Natasha refine her strategy. She didn't just need to expose Ryan's crimes. She needed to do it in a way that would maximize the damage to his relationship with Monica. Meanwhile, she continued gathering evidence of Ryan's financial irregularities. With Peterson's guidance, she had identified a pattern of suspicious transactions that painted a clear picture of embezzlement. The amounts were significant. Over $200,000 over the past year alone. "Your husband has been very clever," Peterson told her during one of their meetings. "He's been skimming small amounts from multiple accounts over time, then moving the money through several personal accounts before depositing it into his main checking account. It would be almost impossible to detect unless someone was specifically looking for it. But you found it. Because you gave me the roadmap. Without your financial records and timeline, this would have taken months to uncover. What's our next step? We need to decide how to handle this information. If we report it now, Ryan could be arrested before the divorce is finalized. That might complicate the asset division. What if we don't report it? Then we risk someone else discovering it first, which could freeze all marital assets pending investigation." It was a delicate balance and the timing had to be perfect. At home, Natasha continued playing the role of the grieving wife. Ryan had moved permanently into the guest room and was spending most of his time at Monica's apartment, but he still came home occasionally to collect mail or clean clothes. During one of these visits, Natasha overheard a phone conversation that changed everything. Ryan was in his home office, speaking in hushed tones. Natasha positioned herself in the hallway where she could hear without being seen. "No, no, no," Ryan was saying, his voice stressed. "That audit wasn't supposed to happen until next quarter." "Audit?" Natasha's pulse quickened. "How thorough are they being?" Ryan continued. "Just the major accounts, or are they looking at everything?" There was a long pause. Okay. "Yes, I can have those reconciliations ready by Friday." "No, there won't be any problems. Everything will balance perfectly." Another pause. "Because I'm very good at my job, that's why." I've been managing these accounts for 5 years without a single discrepancy. Liar, Natasha thought. The man was panicking about an audit while claiming everything was perfect. No, I don't need help. I just need a few days to organize everything. The numbers will speak for themselves. Ryan hung up and immediately made another call. Monica? It's me. We need to talk. Tonight. Yes, it's important. That evening, after Ryan left for Monica's apartment, Natasha called Tyler. Ryan's company is conducting an audit, she told him. He's panicking. When? Soon. He said he had until Friday to prepare some reconciliations. That's 3 days. Tyler, what if they find the irregularities before we're ready? Then we need to accelerate our timeline. How quickly can your lawyer file the divorce papers? He said he could file them tomorrow if necessary. Do it. And there's something else we need to consider. What? If Ryan gets arrested, Monica's going to realize her comfortable new life is about to disappear. She might do something desperate. Like what? Like try to distance herself from Ryan by claiming she never knew about the money. Or worse, she might try to implicate you somehow. The thought sent a chill down Natasha's spine. How could she implicate me? You had access to Ryan's accounts. You could have been involved in moving the money. If Monica gets scared enough, she might try to save herself by throwing you under the bus. But I have evidence that I was investigating him, not helping him. Do you have evidence that proves when you gathered that information? Could someone argue that you only started documenting things after you got caught? Natasha realized the vulnerability in her position. She had been so focused on building a case against Ryan that she hadn't considered how her knowledge of his crimes might look to outsiders. What do I do? We need to create a clear timeline that shows you discovered Ryan's crimes independently, after you learned about the affair. We need evidence that you were the victim, not the accomplice. They spent the next 2 hours on the phone, developing a plan to protect Natasha while ensuring Ryan faced the consequences of his actions. The next morning, Natasha met with Peterson and filed for divorce. The papers would be served to Ryan that afternoon, officially starting the process. I've also prepared a statement for you to give to Ryan's company, Peterson said, handing her a sealed envelope. It outlines what you discovered and when you discovered it. If they ask you about Ryan's finances, you give them this statement and refer them to me. What if Ryan tries to blame me? He can try, but we have evidence that you've been consulting with me about protecting yourself from his financial irregularities. That consultation began after you learned about his affair, which establishes a clear timeline. That afternoon, Natasha was at work when her phone rang. It was Ryan and he was furious. What the hell is this? He shouted into the phone. Divorce papers? Are you out of your mind? You told me you wanted a divorce, Natasha said calmly. I'm giving you what you want. I didn't say I wanted to be ambushed with legal papers at my office. I had to file them somewhere. This is going to ruin everything. Ryan's voice was getting higher, more desperate. Do you have any idea what kind of position this puts me in? What position? I'm in the middle of a major audit at work. The last thing I need is personal drama affecting my professional reputation. Interesting, Natasha thought. He was more worried about the audit than the divorce. I'm sorry about the timing, she said, not sorry at all. But you're the one who wanted to end our marriage. We could have handled this privately. We didn't need lawyers and court filings and all this legal nonsense. Actually, we did need lawyers. Especially given some of the things I've discovered about our finances. The line went silent. What things? Ryan asked, his voice suddenly very quiet. I think we should discuss that through our attorneys, Natasha said. I wouldn't want to say anything that might affect your audit. Natasha, what are you talking about? What have you discovered? Goodbye, Ryan. She hung up and immediately called Tyler. It's done, she said. Ryan's been served and he's panicking about the audit. How panicked? Very. He seems more concerned about his professional reputation than the divorce. Good. That means he's still thinking he can control the situation. The bigger the shock when everything falls apart. What about Monica? Have you heard from her? Not yet, but I'm sure Ryan's told her about the divorce papers by now. She's probably trying to figure out how this affects her. That evening, Natasha's phone buzzed with a text from Monica. Heard about you and Ryan. I'm so sorry. Want to talk? Natasha stared at the message for a long time. The fake sympathy, the pretense of being a supportive friend, the complete absence of guilt or acknowledgement of her role in the marriage's destruction. She typed back, not ready to talk yet. Need some time. I understand. But I'm here for you when you're ready. Love you. Love you. Even now, even after everything, Monica was still pretending to care about her. Natasha deleted the conversation and blocked Monica's number. She was done with the lies, done with the pretense, done with being the naive friend who trusted people who didn't deserve it. Tomorrow, Ryan's audit would begin in earnest. In a few days, the investigation would uncover what Natasha already knew. And when that happened, both Ryan and Monica would learn that actions have consequences. But tonight, for the first time in months, Natasha slept peacefully. Because she knew that justice was finally coming. The call came at 7 in the morning, 3 days after the divorce papers were served. Natasha was getting ready for work when her phone rang with an unknown number. Mrs. Williams? This is Detective Sarah Chen with the Financial Crimes Unit. We need to speak with you about your husband. Natasha's heart raced, but her voice remained steady. Of course. When would be convenient? Today if possible. This is a time-sensitive investigation. They arranged to meet at the police station that afternoon. Natasha immediately called Peterson, who agreed to accompany her to the interview. This is actually good news, Peterson told her as they sat in his office before heading to the station. It means Ryan's company found the irregularities during their audit. The fact that they've brought in law enforcement suggests the amounts are significant. What should I expect? They'll want to know what you knew and when you knew it. They'll ask about your access to Ryan's accounts, your knowledge of his work, and whether you suspected anything. Just tell the truth and stick to our timeline. What if they think I was involved? That's why I'm here. And that's why we've been documenting everything carefully. The interview took place in a small, sterile room at the police station. Detective Chen was a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who seemed to see everything and judge nothing. She was accompanied by a federal agent named Rodriguez, which told Natasha the investigation was bigger than she had expected. Mrs. Williams, Detective Chen began, your husband is under investigation for embezzlement from his employer, Meridian Financial. We understand you've recently filed for divorce. That's correct. Can you tell us what prompted the divorce filing? Natasha took a deep breath and told them about discovering Ryan's affair, about the confrontation at the restaurant, about her decision to end the marriage. She was careful to stick to the timeline she and Peterson had established. When did you first become aware of any financial irregularities in your husband's behavior? Agent Rodriguez asked. About 3 months ago, Natasha said. I was reviewing our joint bank statements when I noticed some deposits that didn't match Ryan's salary schedule. What did you do with that information? I started keeping records. I thought maybe there was a mistake, or maybe Ryan had gotten a bonus he hadn't told me about. But when the pattern continued, I became concerned. Concerned enough to investigate further? Yes. I began documenting everything I could access legally, joint accounts, credit cards where I was an authorized user, household financial records. Did you confront your husband about these irregularities? No. I was afraid he would accuse me of being paranoid or controlling. Our marriage was already strained because of the affair, though I didn't know about that at the time. Detective Chen leaned forward. You said you didn't know about the affair at the time you discovered the financial irregularities. When did you learn about the affair? About 2 weeks ago when Ryan told me he wanted a divorce so he could be with my best friend. And the timeline of your financial investigation? Peterson slid a folder across the table. My client has prepared a detailed timeline of her discoveries, complete with dates and supporting documentation. The agent spent several minutes reviewing Natasha's records. She could see them cross-referencing her information with their own investigation notes. Mrs. Williams, Agent Rodriguez said finally, these records are very detailed. You've essentially mapped out a complete picture of your husband's alleged embezzlement scheme. I'm a research analyst by profession, Natasha replied. When something doesn't make sense to me, I investigate it thoroughly. Have you shared this information with anyone else? Natasha hesitated for just a moment. Only with my attorney in preparation for the divorce proceedings. What about your friend? The one your husband is having an affair with? Monica? No. I haven't spoken to her since I learned about the affair. Does she know about your husband's financial situation? I have no idea what Ryan has told her about money, but I assume she believes he's successful and financially stable, since that's the image he projects. Detective Chin and Agent Rodriguez exchanged glances. Mrs. Williams, Detective Chin said, would you be willing to cooperate with our investigation? What would that involve? We may need you to provide additional financial records, possibly testify about what you discovered and when you discovered it. We might also ask you to avoid discussing the investigation with anyone who might warn your husband. Of course, I want the truth to come out. Even if that means your husband could face criminal charges? Natasha met the detective's eyes steadily. Especially if it means he faces charges. What he did was wrong and there should be consequences. After the interview, Peterson walked Natasha to her car. That went very well, he said. They clearly believe your story and they're grateful for your cooperation. What happens next? They'll continue their investigation, probably execute search warrants, interview other witnesses. Ryan will likely be arrested within the next few days. And Monica? Unless she was directly involved in the embezzlement, she's not their concern. But she's about to have a very unpleasant surprise. That evening, Natasha called Tyler to update him on the interview. So it's really happening, Tyler said. Ryan's going down. It looks that way. The agents seem to think they have a strong case. How are you feeling about it? Natasha considered the question. Relieved mostly. For months I've been carrying this secret, wondering if I was wrong, wondering if I should say something. Now it's out of my hands. And when Monica finds out? That's going to be interesting. She thinks she won the prize. She's about to learn she won a criminal. I almost feel sorry for her, Tyler said, though his tone suggested he didn't feel sorry at all. Almost. She made her choice. She chose to betray someone who trusted her completely. Now she gets to live with the consequences of that choice. The next morning, Natasha woke up to find Ryan's car in the driveway. She hadn't expected him to come home, since he'd been staying at Monica's apartment. She found him in the kitchen looking haggard and desperate. We need to talk, he said as soon as he saw her. I thought we were handling everything through lawyers now. This is bigger than the divorce, Natasha. Much bigger. She poured herself coffee, taking her time, letting him sweat. What do you mean? There are some issues at work. Financial issues. The audit turned up some irregularities. What kind of irregularities? Ryan's hands were shaking as he reached for his coffee cup. Someone has been moving money around, making it look like there are problems with my accounts. Someone? I think someone might be trying to frame me. Natasha almost laughed at the desperation in his voice. Frame you for what? For embezzlement. But Natasha, I swear to you, I didn't take any money from the company. Someone else has access to my accounts, someone who wants to destroy me. Who would want to destroy you, Ryan? I don't know. Maybe someone who found out about Monica and me. Maybe someone who wants revenge. The irony was almost too much to bear. Ryan was accusing some unnamed person of doing exactly what Natasha was actually doing, using his own crimes against him. Ryan, she said carefully, are you suggesting that I might have had something to do with these irregularities? No. No, of course not. You wouldn't know how to do something like that. I'm saying someone else, someone with financial expertise, might be targeting me. Have you talked to the police about this theory? Ryan's face went pale. The police? If you're being framed, you should report it to the authorities. They can investigate and clear your name. I can't. Not yet. I need to figure out who's doing this first. Or, Natasha said quietly, you could tell me the truth about what you've been doing with the company's money. Ryan stared at her for a long moment, and she could see him trying to decide whether to keep lying or come clean. Natasha, he said finally, if something happens to me if I get arrested, you need to know that I was trying to build a future for us. The money? I was going to pay it back. What money, Ryan? I borrowed some funds from client accounts. Just temporarily. I was using them to make investments to build up our savings. I was going to replace everything before anyone noticed. But someone noticed. The audit came early. I didn't have time to put everything back. Natasha set down her coffee cup and looked at her husband. Really looked at him. He was scared, desperate, and still trying to manipulate her into feeling sorry for him. How much money, Ryan? A little over 300,000. The number hit her like a physical blow. She had estimated around 200,000 based on the records she could access, but the reality was even worse. $300,000. I know it sounds like a lot, but I was making good returns on the investments. I would have been able to pay it all back and still have money left over for us. For us? Or for your new life with Monica? Ryan's face crumpled. Natasha, please. I know I made mistakes, but I'm in serious trouble here. I could go to prison. Yes, she said calmly. You could. You have to help me. You're my wife. Soon-to-be ex-wife. And I'm not going to help you cover up a crime. I'm not asking you to cover anything up. I'm asking you to stand by me while I figure out how to fix this. There's nothing to fix, Ryan. You stole money. You got caught. Now you face the consequences. Ryan stared at her as if seeing her for the first time. You're not going to help me. No, I'm not. Even after 10 years of marriage? Especially after 10 years of marriage. 10 years during which you apparently thought so little of me that you not only cheated on me but also committed crimes that could have destroyed both our lives. Ryan stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Fine. I don't need your help anyway. Monica believes in me. She'll stand by me. Will she? Natasha asked. Does Monica know about the money? She knows I'm successful. She knows I can provide for her. But does she know you're a thief? Ryan's eyes flashed with anger. I'm not a thief. I'm a businessman who made some risky decisions. You're a criminal who's about to be arrested. And when Monica finds out, she's going to run so fast it'll make your head spin. You don't know anything about Monica. I know she values her reputation above everything else. I know she's terrified of being associated with anything that might make her look bad. And I know she has no loyalty to anyone but herself. Ryan grabbed his keys from the counter. You're wrong about both of us. And when this is all over, when I prove my innocence, you're going to regret not standing by me. I'm already free of regrets, Ryan. Can you say the same? He left without another word, slamming the door behind him. Natasha sat in the quiet kitchen, surrounded by the debris of her marriage, and felt something she hadn't experienced in months. It was almost over. Soon Ryan would be arrested. Soon Monica would realize the man she'd chosen was not the prize she thought he was. Soon, Natasha would be free to build a new life without the weight of their betrayal dragging her down. But first she had one more call to make. Tyler? It's me. Ryan just confessed to embezzling over $300,000. Jesus. What did you tell him? The truth. That I'm not going to help him, and that Monica will abandon him the second she finds out. How did he take that? About as well as you'd expect. He's convinced Monica will stand by him through this. Tyler laughed, but there was no humor in it. He really doesn't know her at all, does he? No. But he's about to learn. Are you ready for what comes next? Natasha looked around the kitchen where she had made so many meals for a man who had never deserved her loyalty, where she had tried so hard to save a marriage that was already dead. More than ready, she said. Bring it on. The arrest happened on a Thursday morning while Natasha was at work. She heard about it first from a colleague who had seen the news online. Local financial executive arrested for embezzlement. The headline made her stomach clench, even though she had been expecting this moment for weeks. By lunch, her phone was buzzing constantly. Reporters, neighbors, acquaintances who had heard the news and wanted to know if she had any comment about her soon-to-be ex-husband's criminal charges. She turned off her phone and called Peterson from her office landline. Have you seen the news? She asked. I have. Are you holding up okay? I'm fine. What happens now? Now Ryan's arraignment is scheduled for tomorrow. He'll probably make bail, but the criminal case will proceed parallel to your divorce. This actually strengthens our position significantly. How so? Criminal embezzlement charges make it much easier to argue that you deserve a larger share of the marital assets. The court will want to ensure that you're not penalized for your husband's crimes. After work, Natasha drove home to find news vans parked outside her house. She pulled into her garage and entered through the back door, avoiding the reporters who were probably hoping for a statement from the embezzler's wife. She was pouring herself a glass of wine when someone knocked on her back door. Through the window she could see Tyler standing on her patio. What are you doing here? She asked, letting him in quickly before any reporters could spot him. I wanted to check on you. I figured today might be difficult. It's been surreal, Natasha admitted. Part of me still can't believe this is really happening. How are you feeling about it? Natasha considered the question as she poured Tyler a glass of wine. Vindicated, I think. For months, I've been questioning myself, wondering if I was overreacting, if I was being paranoid about the financial irregularities. Now I know I was right to trust my instincts. And guilty? Should I feel guilty? Some people would. Some people didn't have their husbands steal hundreds of thousands of dollars while cheating on them with their best friend. Natasha took a sip of wine. No, I don't feel guilty. I feel like justice is finally being served. What about Monica? Have you heard from her? I blocked her number weeks ago. But I'm sure she's having an interesting day. Tyler smiled grimly. I imagine she is. Want to know what I heard through the grapevine? Tell me. Monica called in sick to work today. And her neighbor saw someone moving boxes out of her apartment. She's running. Looks like it. Apparently, she's been telling people that she had no idea about Ryan's financial problems, that she's as shocked as everyone else. Of course she is. It gets better. She's also been hinting that she suspected Ryan might have been taking money from your joint accounts, that she was actually trying to protect you by getting him away from you. Natasha nearly choked on her wine. She's trying to make herself look like a hero? Classic Monica. She can't just be the other woman who got fooled by a criminal. She has to be the concerned friend who was trying to save you from your evil husband. That's incredible. It's also completely believable if you don't know the real timeline. People who don't know about the 2-year affair might actually buy the story that she was trying to help you. Natasha shook her head in amazement. Even now, even when her world is falling apart, she's still trying to manipulate the narrative. The question is, will Ryan let her get away with it? They didn't have to wait long for an answer. At 8 o'clock that evening, Natasha's phone rang with a call from an unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. Natasha. It was Ryan and he sounded broken. Can we talk? Are you supposed to be calling me? Don't you have legal restrictions now? Please. Just 5 minutes. I need to tell you something about Monica. Natasha put the call on speaker so Tyler could hear. What about Monica? She's gone. Ryan's voice was hollow. She packed up her apartment and left town. Won't return my calls, won't see me, nothing. I'm sorry to hear that. No, you're not. You warned me this would happen. Yes, I did. She left me a letter. Want to know what it said? Not particularly. She said she never really loved me. She said she was just using me to get back at you for having a better life than her. She said being with me was her way of proving she could take anything she wanted from anyone. Natasha felt a chill run down her spine. She said that? She said she never cared about me, that I was just a game to her. A way to prove she could steal your husband and destroy your marriage whenever she felt like it. Tyler's eyes widened. Even he looked shocked by the depth of Monica's cruelty. Ryan, Natasha said carefully, why are you telling me this? Because I need you to know that I was played too. Monica manipulated both of us. She made me believe that you were the problem in our marriage, that you were holding me back, that I deserved better. You chose to believe her. I was an idiot. I was flattered by the attention, excited by the secrecy, convinced that I was finally living the life I deserved. But it was all a lie. What do you want from me, Ryan? I want you to know that destroying our marriage wasn't entirely my idea. Monica pushed me toward it. She convinced me that you would never make me happy, that I was wasting my life with you. And the embezzlement? Did Monica convince you to do that too? Ryan was quiet for a long moment. No, that was all me. I wanted to be able to give her the lifestyle she expected. I wanted to prove I could provide for her. So you stole money. I borrowed money. I was going to pay it back. With what? More stolen money? I had a plan. I was making good investments, building up capital. It would have worked if the audit hadn't come early. Natasha could hear the delusion in his voice, the refusal to accept responsibility for his actions. Ryan, Monica didn't make you steal money. Monica didn't make you cheat on me. Monica didn't make you treat me like garbage for 2 years. Those were your choices. But she influenced those choices. She made me believe things that weren't true. What things? That you were boring. That you didn't appreciate me. That I was settling for less than I deserved. And you believed her instead of trusting your own judgment about the woman you married. Yes. Why? Ryan was quiet for so long that Natasha thought he had hung up. Because, he said finally, she made me feel like the man I wanted to be instead of the man I actually am. The honesty in his voice surprised her. It was the first real, unguarded thing he had said to her in years. And what kind of man are you actually, Ryan? The kind who cheats on his wife. The kind who steals money from his employer. The kind who gets fooled by a woman who was just using him for sport. The kind who calls his ex-wife from jail to complain about the consequences of his own actions. I'm not in jail. I made bail. For now. Natasha, I know I have no right to ask this, but when this goes to trial, when they ask you to testify, you want me to lie for you. I want you to tell them about Monica. About how she manipulated me, how she pushed me to make bad decisions. No. Please. I'm looking at 10 to 15 years in prison. If the jury understands that I was being manipulated. No, Ryan. I'm not going to help you blame someone else for your crimes. But you hate Monica as much as I do now. She betrayed both of us. Monica didn't embezzle money from Meridian Financial. Monica didn't forge documents or move funds illegally. Monica didn't steal from clients. You did all of that. But she was the reason. She was the excuse. There's a difference. Tyler was nodding approvingly as he listened to the conversation. I could have said no to her, Ryan continued. I could have stayed faithful to you. I could have found legal ways to make more money. But I chose the easy path, the dishonest path. Finally what? Finally, you're taking responsibility for your actions instead of blaming everyone else. Does that matter? Does that change anything? Natasha considered the question. It matters to me. It doesn't change what you did, but it matters that you're finally admitting you did it. Will you visit me? In prison? No. Will you ever forgive me? Someday maybe. For my own peace of mind, not for yours. What am I supposed to do now? I've lost my job, my wife, my girlfriend, my freedom. I have nothing left. You have the opportunity to spend the next few years thinking about the choices you made and the person you want to be when you get out. And you? What are you going to do? I'm going to build a new life. A better life. A life without people who lie to me and steal from me and betray my trust. I'm sorry, Natasha. For all of it. For everything. I know you are. But being sorry doesn't undo the damage. Could we have fixed things? If I had come clean about the affair, if I had stopped stealing, could we have saved our marriage? Natasha thought about the question honestly. I don't know. Maybe. If you had been honest, if you had been willing to work on our problems instead of running away from them. But that's not what happened. No. That's not what happened. Take care of yourself, Ryan. And don't call me again. She hung up and turned to Tyler, who had been listening to the entire conversation with fascination. Well, Tyler said, that was illuminating. He actually sounded remorseful. He sounded like a man who's finally realized the full cost of his choices. Do you think he was telling the truth about Monica's letter? About her using him to hurt you? Probably. It sounds exactly like something Monica would do. And exactly like something she would confess to once she was safely out of town. She's probably feeling very pleased with herself right now, Tyler said. She destroyed your marriage, she manipulated Ryan into ruining his life, and she escaped without facing any consequences. Except that she lost Ryan too. Did she though? Or did she get exactly what she wanted? The satisfaction of proving she could take him from you, followed by the satisfaction of discarding him once he was no longer useful. Natasha felt a surge of anger at the thought of Monica somewhere, probably laughing about how cleverly she had manipulated everyone involved. There has to be something we can do, she said. Some way to make sure she faces consequences too. Like what? She didn't commit any crimes. She didn't steal money or break any laws. But she destroyed lives for fun. She broke up a marriage as a game. And now she's moved on to her next game, probably in another city with another group of people who don't know what she's capable of. They sat in silence for several minutes, each lost in their own thoughts. You know what bothers me the most? Natasha said finally. What? She's out there right now, probably telling people about her narrow escape from a relationship with a criminal. She's probably painting herself as the victim, as the woman who almost got dragged down by Ryan's crimes. And people will believe her because they don't know the real story. She gets to be the innocent girlfriend who escaped in time, while I'm the suspicious wife who turned her husband in to the police. Is that how people see you? I don't know. I don't care. But it's the principle of the thing. She should face some kind of accountability for what she did. Tyler was quiet for a long moment, thinking. What if, he said slowly, there was a way to make sure people knew the truth about Monica? What do you mean? I mean, what if the people in her new city, her new job, her new social circle, somehow learned about her pattern of behavior? What if they knew she was the kind of person who destroys marriages for sport? How would they learn that? Social media is a wonderful thing. Employment background checks are getting more thorough. People talk to people who talk to other people. Natasha looked at Tyler carefully. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that Monica has made enemies. People who know what she's really like. And maybe those people have a responsibility to warn others about her. That sounds like harassment. Not harassment. Truth-telling. There's a difference. Is there? Monica built her entire scheme on deception. She relied on people not knowing who she really was. What if we took away that advantage? Natasha felt a spark of interest, followed immediately by a wave of caution. Tyler, I can't get involved in anything that could affect my divorce proceedings or make me look vindictive. You wouldn't be involved. This would be about me sharing my own experiences with Monica. About me making sure people know what kind of person she is. And if she tries to retaliate? How? By telling people that I exposed her as someone who breaks up marriages? That's not exactly going to generate sympathy for her. Natasha considered the idea. It was tempting, very tempting. But it was also risky. I need to think about this, she said finally. Of course. But think about this too. If we don't do something, Monica gets away with everything. She destroys lives and faces no consequences. She moves on to her next victims with a clean slate. And if we do something? Then maybe, just maybe, justice gets served all around. After Tyler left, Natasha sat alone in her kitchen thinking about justice and revenge and the difference between the two. Ryan was facing criminal charges for his crimes. That was justice. But Monica was walking away free, ready to hurt someone else. That felt like injustice. The question was, what, if anything, was she prepared to do about it? 2 weeks later, Natasha was leaving the grocery store when she spotted a familiar figure getting out of a car in the parking lot. Monica had returned to town, probably to collect the last of her belongings or handle some business she couldn't manage remotely. For a moment, Natasha considered walking to her car and driving away without acknowledging Monica's presence. She had nothing to say to the woman who had betrayed her so completely. But something in Monica's posture, something defiant and unapologetic, made Natasha change her mind. "Monica," she called out. Monica turned, and for just a second, Natasha saw surprise and what might have been fear flash across her face. But it was quickly replaced by a mask of false concern. "Natasha. Oh my God, I've been so worried about you. I heard about Ryan's arrest. Are you okay?" The performance was flawless. Monica's voice was filled with just the right amount of shock and sympathy. If Natasha hadn't known the truth, she might have been fooled. "I'm fine," Natasha said, walking closer. "Actually, I'm better than I've been in years. I can't believe what Ryan did. Stealing all that money? I had no idea he was capable of something like that. Didn't you?" Monica's smile faltered slightly. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you spent 2 years sleeping with him. You never suspected he might be dishonest?" "Natasha, I don't." Natasha's voice was quiet but firm. "Don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about. I know about the affair, Monica. I've known for months." The mask slipped completely. Monica's face went through several expressions: surprise, calculation, and finally resignation. "How long have you known?" Monica asked, her voice different now, colder. "Since about 6 months after it started. I've been watching you both, documenting everything, waiting to see how far you'd take it. And you never said anything. I wanted to see what kind of people I was dealing with. I wanted to understand exactly how little my marriage and our friendship meant to you." Monica straightened up, her fake concern replaced by something that looked almost like pride. "You want to know the truth?" Monica said. "Fine. Yes, I slept with your husband. Yes, I convinced him to leave you. And you know what? It wasn't even difficult." "Why?" "Because you were boring, Natasha. You were predictable and safe and everything that makes a man feel trapped. Ryan was desperate for excitement, for someone who made him feel alive. So you made him feel alive by helping him steal money?" "I didn't know about the money until after he was arrested. That was all Ryan's stupidity. But you knew he was spending more than he should have been able to afford." Monica shrugged. "I knew he was generous. I assumed he was successful. You assumed he was worth stealing from me. I didn't steal him. He came willingly. More than willingly. He was eager to get away from you. And now?" "Now what?" "Now that he's facing prison time, now that his life is ruined, how do you feel about your generous, successful boyfriend?" Monica laughed, and the sound was genuinely amused. "You think I cared about Ryan? You think this was some great love story? What was it then? It was a game. A test to see if I could take something you valued and make it mine." "Why?" "Because I could. Because you had everything handed to you, a good marriage, a nice house, a husband who adored you, and you didn't even appreciate it. So you decided to destroy it. I decided to see what you were really made of. Whether you'd fight for what was yours or just let it slip away. And your conclusion? You let it slip away. You suspected Ryan was cheating for months and you did nothing. You were too weak to confront him, too scared to demand the truth." Natasha felt a surge of anger but also something else. Something that felt like clarity. "You're right," she said calmly. "I was weak. I was scared. I didn't fight for my marriage." Monica looked surprised by the admission. "But you made one mistake," Natasha continued. "What mistake?" "You assumed that because I didn't fight for Ryan, I wouldn't fight for myself. What's that supposed to mean? It means you have no idea what I'm capable of when someone really crosses me." Monica's confident expression wavered slightly. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm telling you that your game had consequences you didn't consider." Like what? You divorced Ryan, he got arrested for being a thief, and I moved on with my life. Sounds like everyone got what they deserved. Did they? Did you get what you deserved? I got exactly what I wanted. I proved I could take your husband whenever I felt like it, and then I threw him away when he became inconvenient. And now I'm starting over somewhere new with people who don't know about any of this mess. Are you? Something in Natasha's tone made Monica take a step back. What's that supposed to mean? It means the world is smaller than you think, Monica. It means people talk to people who talk to other people. It means your reputation follows you whether you want it to or not. You can't do anything to me. I didn't break any laws. No, you didn't break any laws. But you did break something else. What? The trust of everyone who ever cared about you. And trust, once broken, has a way of spreading. Monica's face had gone pale. You're talking about sabotaging my reputation. I'm talking about making sure people know who you really are. That's harassment. No, that's honesty. There's a difference. I'll sue you. For what? Telling the truth about what you did to my marriage. For ruining my life. I'm not ruining your life, Monica. I'm just making sure you can't ruin anyone else's life without them knowing what they're dealing with. Monica stared at her for a long moment, and Natasha could see her trying to figure out if this was a bluff. You won't do it, Monica said finally. You're too nice. Too concerned about doing the right thing. You're probably right, Natasha agreed. The old me wouldn't have done it. The old me would have been too worried about being seen as vindictive or petty. And the new you? The new me learned something important from watching you and Ryan. I learned that sometimes nice people get destroyed by people who have no conscience. I learned that being too nice can be just as dangerous as being too cruel. So what are you saying? I'm saying that I'm not the same woman whose marriage you destroyed for fun. I'm someone new, someone who's learned to protect herself and others from people like you. Monica's confident mask was completely gone now, replaced by something that looked almost like fear. What do you want from me? She asked. Nothing. I want absolutely nothing from you. Then why are you threatening me? I'm not threatening you. I'm informing you that your actions have consequences. That the game you played with my life has rules you didn't consider. What rules? The rule that says when you hurt people for fun, those people might decide to make sure you don't hurt anyone else. Monica opened her mouth to respond, but Natasha held up a hand to stop her. I have nothing more to say to you, Monica. You made your choices and now you get to live with them. All of them. Natasha started to walk toward her car, then turned back. Oh, and Monica? You were wrong about one thing. What? You said I let my marriage slip away, that I was too weak to fight for what was mine. You were. No. I was smart enough to realize that Ryan wasn't worth fighting for. That our marriage wasn't worth saving. But make no mistake, when something or someone is worth fighting for, I fight to win. And you think I'm worth fighting? I think the next innocent woman whose marriage you try to destroy is worth fighting for. I think the next man you try to manipulate into ruining his life is worth fighting for. You can't protect everyone. No. But I can protect the people in your new city. I can make sure they know what you are. Monica's face hardened. You'll regret this. No, Natasha said, getting into her car. You will. As she drove away, Natasha could see Monica in her rearview mirror, standing alone in the parking lot, probably for the first time realizing that her game had consequences she hadn't anticipated. That evening, Natasha called Tyler and told him about the confrontation. How do you feel? He asked. Liberated. For the first time since this whole thing started, I feel like I have some control over the situation. Are you really going to follow through? With warning people about her? I haven't decided yet. But I want her to think I will. Why? Because for the first time since I've known her, Monica looked genuinely worried about something. And I realized I like seeing her worried. I like knowing that she doesn't get to just walk away from this without any consequences. That's not very nice of you. No, it's not. And I'm discovering that I'm okay with not being nice to people who aren't nice to me. What if she tries to retaliate somehow? How? By telling people I was mean to the woman who destroyed my marriage? By claiming I'm the bad guy in this story? She could try to make trouble for you professionally or socially. Let her try. I have documentation of everything she and Ryan did. I have evidence of their affair, of the timeline, of Monica's role in manipulating Ryan. If she wants to make this public, I'm ready for that fight. You really have changed. Yes, I have. And you know what? I like the new me better. The new me doesn't let people walk all over her. The new me fights back when she's been wronged. And the new me, Tyler said, is going to help you make sure Monica faces some consequences for what she did. You don't have to. Yes, I do. She destroyed my life too, remember? And unlike you, I don't have the satisfaction of knowing that the man she manipulated is going to prison for his crimes. So what do? We make sure that Monica's new life isn't quite as fresh and clean as she thought it would be. How? Leave that to me. I have some ideas. After they hung up, Natasha sat in her quiet house thinking about the conversation with Monica. Part of her felt guilty about threatening to expose Monica's past. But a bigger part of her felt something she hadn't experienced in a long time. Power. The power that came from knowing the truth and being willing to use it. The power that came from not caring whether people thought she was nice. For too long, she had been afraid of being seen as vindictive or petty. But Monica and Ryan had taken advantage of that fear, had counted on her being too nice to fight back effectively. Well, they had miscalculated. The woman whose life they had destroyed was gone, replaced by someone who understood that sometimes the right thing to do wasn't the nice thing to do. Sometimes the right thing to do was to make sure people faced consequences for their actions. And Monica was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The first sign that Tyler had been busy came 3 weeks later, when Natasha received a forwarded email from an address she didn't recognize. The subject line read, "Thought you should see this." The email contained a link to a professional networking site where someone had posted a detailed review of Monica's work performance at her previous job. The review was factual, professional, and devastating. It described Monica as charming but unreliable, someone who created interpersonal drama, and could not be trusted with confidential information. The review was signed by Tyler Morrison, and it was accompanied by a note that he had worked closely with Monica on several projects and felt obligated to share his experience for the benefit of future employers. Natasha called Tyler immediately. "Did you really post that review?" she asked. "I did. Everything in it is true and verifiable." "Tyler, this could get you in trouble." "How?" "I worked with Monica at a consulting firm 2 years ago. I have every right to share my professional opinion of her work quality. But people will know it's connected to your personal relationship with her. So, that doesn't make the professional observations any less valid. What if she sues you? For what? Telling the truth about her work performance? Let her try. I have documentation of every project she screwed up, every deadline she missed, every colleague she alienated." Natasha had to admit the review was brilliant. It was professional enough to seem legitimate but damaging enough to make potential employers think twice about hiring Monica. "Has she seen it yet?" "Oh, she's seen it. I got a very angry voicemail yesterday." "What did she say?" "She called me pathetic and obsessed. She said I was ruining her life because I couldn't get over our breakup." "And what did you say?" "Nothing. I didn't call her back." The review speaks for itself. Over the next few days, similar reviews appeared on other professional sites. All were factual, all were written by people who had legitimate professional connections to Monica, and all painted a picture of someone who was charming on the surface but problematic to work with. Natasha realized that Tyler had reached out to Monica's former colleagues, professors, and professional contacts. He had gathered their honest opinions about working with Monica and encouraged them to share those opinions publicly. "This is brilliant," Natasha told him during one of their coffee meetings. "You're not spreading rumors or lies. You're just making sure the truth about Monica's professional behavior is visible to people who might need to know it." Exactly. Monica built her career on being charming in interviews and making good first impressions. But people who actually worked with her had very different experiences. And now those experiences are part of the public record. Professional reputation is everything in Monica's field. If potential employers see a pattern of negative reviews from multiple sources, they're going to think twice about hiring her. What about her personal reputation? Tyler smiled. That's been interesting too. What do you mean? Remember how Monica moved to a new city to start fresh? Well, it turns out she joined a young professionals group there, and she's been telling people about her narrow escape from a relationship with a criminal. Of course she has. But here's the thing about social media, it's very easy to connect with people from someone's past. Very easy to share information about what really happened. Tyler, you didn't? I didn't do anything directly. But I may have connected with some mutual friends from college, people who remembered Monica and were curious about what she was up to these days. And you told them about the affair? I told them about my experience with Monica. About how she cheated on me with a married man, about how she destroyed a 10-year marriage for fun, about how she bragged about manipulating people. And they shared that information? People talk. especially when someone is going around playing the victim while they're actually the villain. Natasha felt a mixture of admiration and concern. Tyler's campaign against Monica was comprehensive and effective, but it was also potentially dangerous. Tyler, what if this backfires? What if Monica figures out you're behind all of this and decides to retaliate? How? By telling people I exposed her as someone who breaks up marriages? That's not exactly going to generate sympathy for her. She could claim you're harassing her. Am I? I haven't contacted her directly. I haven't threatened her. I've simply shared truthful information about my experiences with her, both professional and personal. But you're clearly coordinating a campaign to damage her reputation. I'm sharing the truth about her behavior. If that damages her reputation, that's on her, not me. Tyler had a point, but Natasha still felt uneasy about the intensity of his efforts against Monica. Can I ask you something? She said. Of course. Why are you doing all this? I mean, I understand wanting Monica to face consequences, but this seems like a lot of time and effort to spend on someone who's already out of your life. Tyler was quiet for a long moment, considering his answer. Because, he said finally, Monica destroyed something precious and she did it for fun. She took a 10-year marriage and threw it away like garbage because she was bored and wanted to prove she could. She destroyed your relationship too. Yes, but that's not the same thing. You and Ryan had built a life together. You had shared dreams, shared history, shared love. Monica and I were together for 2 years. What you lost was irreplaceable. And you think Monica should pay for that? I think Monica should understand that actions have consequences. I think she should learn that she can't destroy people's lives without facing some fallout herself. And if she learns that lesson, then maybe she'll think twice before doing it to someone else. Natasha understood Tyler's reasoning, but she also recognized something else in his determination to punish Monica. Something that looked like displaced anger about his own situation. Tyler, she said gently, are you doing this for me or are you doing this for you? What do you mean? I mean, Ryan is facing criminal charges for what he did. He's going to prison, he's lost his job, his reputation is ruined. But Monica's just going to move on with her life unless we do something about it. Exactly. But there's a difference between justice and revenge. Justice is Ryan facing consequences for his crimes. Revenge is trying to destroy Monica's life because we're angry. Tyler looked uncomfortable. Are you saying I should stop? I'm saying we should be honest about what we're doing and why we're doing it. And what are we doing? We're making sure Monica faces social and professional consequences for her behavior. We're protecting potential future victims by making sure people know what she's capable of. That sounds like justice to me. Does it? Or does it sound like revenge? Tyler was quiet for several minutes, thinking. Maybe it's both, he said finally. Maybe sometimes justice and revenge look the same. And are you okay with that? Are you? Natasha considered the question honestly. Was she okay with what Tyler was doing to Monica? Was she okay with the fact that Monica's fresh start was being complicated by the truth about her past? Yes, she said finally. I am okay with it. Monica made choices and those choices hurt people. If those choices now make her life more difficult, that's not my problem. And if she tries to retaliate? Then we'll deal with that when it happens. But Tyler, we need to be smart about this. We need to make sure we're not doing anything that could come back to hurt us. Agreed. And we need to know when to stop. If Monica gets the message and changes her behavior, if she stops trying to manipulate people and destroy relationships, then we need to let her build a new life. And if she doesn't get the message? Then we make sure the message gets louder. That evening, Natasha received a text from an unknown number. Stop this now or you'll regret it. She showed the message to Tyler, who had come over for dinner. Monica? He asked. Has to be. She's getting desperate. That's a good sign. Is it? Or is it a sign that we've pushed her too far? There's no such thing as pushing someone too far when they're a predator. Monica destroys people for fun. The more uncomfortable we make her, the less likely she is to hurt someone else. Natasha's phone buzzed with another message. I know it's you and Tyler. I'm not going to let you ruin my life. What do you think she means by that? Natasha asked. I think she means she's going to try to fight back. How? I don't know. But we should be prepared for her to escalate things. Tyler, maybe we should. Natasha's phone rang, interrupting her. The caller ID showed her divorce attorney's name. Mr. Peterson? Is everything okay? Natasha, I need you to come to my office first thing tomorrow morning. We have a problem. What kind of problem? The kind that could affect your divorce settlement. And possibly your freedom. Natasha felt her blood run cold. What are you talking about? Someone has made allegations that you were involved in your husband's embezzlement scheme. Allegations that you helped him steal the money and then turned him in when you realized you were about to be caught. That's ridiculous. You know that's not true. I know that. But the allegations come with some evidence that's concerning. What evidence? We'll discuss it tomorrow. For now, don't talk to anyone about your husband's case, don't post anything on social media, and whatever you do, don't have any contact with Monica Richardson. Why would you mention Monica specifically? Because she's the one who made the allegations. After Peterson hung up, Natasha stared at her phone in shock. What's wrong? Tyler asked. Monica just accused me of being involved in Ryan's embezzlement. What? She's claiming I helped him steal the money and then turned him in to save myself. Tyler's face went pale. Can she prove that? I don't know. Peterson wants to see me tomorrow to discuss the evidence she's provided. What evidence could she have? You weren't involved in the embezzlement. I don't know, but she's clearly desperate enough to try anything. They sat in silence for several minutes, processing this development. Tyler, Natasha said finally, I think Monica just declared war. Then we better make sure we win. This isn't a game anymore. If Monica can convince anyone that I was involved in Ryan's crimes, I could go to prison. That's not going to happen. How can you be sure? Because the truth is on our side. Because we have evidence of when you discovered Ryan's crimes and how you responded. Because Monica is a liar who's about to find out that lying to federal investigators is a serious crime. Natasha hoped Tyler was right. But as she lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, she couldn't shake the feeling that the situation was spiraling out of control. She had wanted justice for Ryan's crimes and consequences for Monica's betrayal. But now it seemed like Monica was willing to destroy everyone to save herself. Tomorrow Natasha would learn just how far Monica was willing to go. And she would have to decide how far she was willing to go in response. The game that had started with an affair and embezzlement was about to become something much more dangerous. The meeting with Peterson the next morning revealed both the scope of Monica's desperation and the weakness of her accusations. Monica had provided federal investigators with a carefully crafted story about how Natasha had discovered Ryan's embezzlement months ago and had been helping him cover it up until she realized they were about to be caught. The problem, Peterson explained, is that Monica has provided some evidence that looks convincing on the surface. What evidence? Screenshots of text messages between you and Ryan that seem to show you discussing moving money between accounts. Natasha felt confused. What text messages? I never discussed moving money with Ryan. Peterson showed her printed copies of the screenshots. The messages appeared to be from Natasha's phone number, discussing financial transactions and expressing concern about covering their tracks, and making sure the audit doesn't find anything. Natasha stared at the messages in disbelief. These are fake. I never sent any of these texts. Can you prove that? Can I prove I didn't send fake text messages? How do you prove a negative? We can start by examining your phone records and comparing them to these screenshots. If the messages are fabricated, there will be digital evidence of that. How long will that take? A few days, maybe a week. The good news is that the investigators seem skeptical of Monica's claims. Her story has some inconsistencies, and her motive for coming forward is suspect. What inconsistencies? For one thing, she claims you confessed to her about helping Ryan steal money. But according to your timeline, you blocked her number weeks before Ryan was arrested. When would this confession have taken place? It wouldn't have. I haven't spoken to Monica since I learned about the affair. Exactly. Also, Monica's story requires you to have been embezzling money while simultaneously documenting the embezzlement for divorce proceedings. That doesn't make logical sense. Natasha felt some of her panic subsiding. So the investigators don't believe her? They're investigating her claims because they have to, but they seem to view her as a scorned ex-girlfriend trying to cause trouble. Especially since she waited until after Ryan was arrested to come forward with these allegations. What do I do now? You do nothing. You let me handle this. And whatever you do, you don't have any contact with Monica Richardson. If she's desperate enough to fabricate evidence, she's dangerous. After leaving Peterson's office, Natasha called Tyler to update him on the situation. Fake text messages? Tyler said. How is that possible? Apparently it's not that difficult if you know what you're doing. Monica could have used apps that let you create fake screenshots, or she could have had someone with tech skills help her. This is insane. She's actually trying to frame you for crimes you didn't commit. She's desperate. Her reputation is being destroyed, her fresh start is falling apart, and she's lashing out at everyone she blames for her situation. Which is us. Which is us. Natasha, I'm sorry. If I hadn't pushed so hard to expose her. Stop. You didn't make Monica create fake evidence. You didn't make her try to frame me for embezzlement. Those are her choices. But if I had left her alone, she would have moved on to destroy someone else's life. At least this way we know what she's capable of. What do we do now? Now we let Peterson and the investigators handle Monica's false accusations. And we wait to see what she tries next. They didn't have to wait long. 2 days later, Natasha discovered that someone had created fake social media profiles using her photos and information. The profiles portrayed her as bitter and vindictive, posting rants about revenge and threatening messages directed at cheating husbands and home-wrecking sluts. The posts were inflammatory and designed to make Natasha look unstable. Worse, they were being sent to her professional contacts, her neighbors, and anyone else who might recognize her. This is harassment, Tyler said when Natasha showed him the fake profiles. Clear, obvious harassment. But can we prove Monica is behind it? We can try. I have contacts in digital forensics who might be able to trace the IP addresses and identify whoever created these accounts. How long will that take? Not long. And in the meantime we should document everything. Screenshot all the fake posts, save the URLs, create a record of exactly what Monica is doing. Natasha spent the next several hours documenting Monica's campaign against her. The fake social media profiles, the fabricated text messages, the pattern of escalating harassment. She's making a mistake, Tyler observed as they reviewed the evidence. She's creating a digital trail that proves she's trying to destroy your reputation. When the investigators see this, it's going to undermine her credibility completely. Assuming we can prove she's behind it. We will. Monica is smart, but she's not a criminal mastermind. She's a manipulator who's used to getting away with things because she's charming and people want to believe her. And now she's panicking and making sloppy mistakes. The fake text messages were clever, but these social media profiles are obviously fake. The writing style is wrong, the information is slightly off, and the timeline doesn't make sense. That evening, Peterson called with an update. The investigators have finished their analysis of Monica's evidence, he said. The text messages are definitely fake. The metadata shows they were created using a text message generator app, not actually sent from your phone. So the accusations are being dropped? The accusations against you are being dropped. But the investigators are now very interested in Monica Richardson. Why? Because making false accusations to federal investigators is a crime. And fabricating evidence to support those accusations is an even more serious crime. Are they going to arrest her? They're building a case. They want to make sure they have enough evidence to prosecute successfully. What about the fake social media profiles? Those help establish a pattern of harassment and defamation. If they can prove Monica created those profiles, it strengthens their case significantly. Natasha felt a sense of vindication mixed with something that might have been pity. Monica had been so desperate to avoid consequences for her actions that she had committed actual crimes trying to frame someone else. Peterson, Natasha said, what happens if Monica is arrested? She'll face charges for filing false police reports, obstruction of justice, and possibly identity theft and harassment depending on what they can prove about the social media profiles. And the divorce proceedings? Those continue unaffected. Ryan's criminal case is separate from your divorce, and Monica's actions don't impact the asset division. 3 days later, Tyler called with news. Monica's been arrested, he said. For the fake accusations? For the fake accusations, the false police reports, and the identity theft related to the social media profiles. Turns out she was sloppy about covering her digital tracks. How are you feeling about it? Tyler was quiet for a moment. Relieved mostly. And a little bit sorry for her. Sorry for her? She could have just moved on with her life. She could have started fresh in her new city and put all of this behind her. Instead, she chose to escalate things to the point where she's facing serious criminal charges. She made her choices. Yes, she did. Just like Ryan made his choices and we made ours. Do you regret any of it? The campaign to expose her, the professional reviews, all of it. No. Monica needed to face consequences for what she did. I just wish she had been smart enough to accept those consequences instead of trying to destroy you to save herself. And if she hadn't escalated things? If she had just accepted the damage to her reputation and moved on? Then she would have learned her lesson and hopefully never hurt anyone else. Instead, she's going to prison. A month later, Natasha's divorce was finalized. Ryan was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison for embezzlement and was ordered to pay full restitution to his former employer. Natasha received the house, most of the marital assets, and Ryan's pension. Monica pleaded guilty to multiple charges related to her harassment campaign and was sentenced to 18 months in prison followed by probation. Tyler had slowly withdrawn from the situation once Monica was arrested, recognizing that his involvement had become more about his own anger than about justice. He started therapy to work through his feelings about betrayal and manipulation, and eventually began dating again. Natasha threw herself into rebuilding her life. She renovated the house, traveled to places she had always wanted to see, and strengthened her relationships with friends and family who had supported her through the ordeal. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Natasha was having coffee with her sister Angela when Angela asked the question she had been avoiding. "Do you ever wonder if you went too far? With Monica, I mean?" Natasha considered the question carefully. "I think about it sometimes. But then I remember what she said to me in that parking lot. That destroying my marriage was a game to her. That she did it to prove she could take anything she wanted from anyone. And that justified everything that happened to her? No. What justified everything that happened to her was her decision to fabricate evidence and try to frame me for crimes I didn't commit. If she had just accepted the consequences of her actions, none of the criminal charges would have happened. But the professional reviews, the social media campaign to expose her past, were truthful accounts of her behavior. Monica built her life on deception and manipulation. All we did was make sure people knew the truth about who she was. And you're at peace with that?" Natasha thought about Ryan, sitting in a federal prison, finally facing the consequences of his crimes. She thought about Monica, who had been so determined to avoid accountability that she had committed new crimes trying to escape the old ones. "I'm at peace with the truth coming out," she said finally. "I'm at peace with people facing consequences for their actions. And I'm at peace with the fact that I didn't let them destroy me." "And what about forgiveness? What about it? Do you think you'll ever forgive them? Ryan and Monica?" Natasha looked out the coffee shop window at people walking by, living their normal lives, probably dealing with their own betrayals and disappointments and choices. "Someday maybe," she said. "For my own peace of mind, not for theirs. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting what they did or pretending it didn't matter. And trust. I'll never trust either of them again. But I've learned to trust myself. I've learned to trust my instincts, to believe my observations, to act on my suspicions instead of ignoring them. That's something, I guess. It's everything." The woman who was married to Ryan, who was friends with Monica, she trusted everyone and questioned nothing. She was naive and hopeful and completely unprepared for people who would take advantage of those qualities. And the new you? The new me knows that some people are exactly as bad as they seem. The new me knows that sometimes being nice isn't the same as being good. The new me knows how to protect herself. "Do you like the new you?" Natasha smiled, and for the first time in over a year, it was a completely genuine smile. "I love the new me. The new me is stronger, smarter, and a lot less willing to let people walk all over her. The new me knows her worth and demands that others respect it too." "And romantically? Are you ready to trust someone new?" "Someday. When I meet someone who proves they deserve trust. Someone who's honest and loyal and treats me like I'm precious instead of taking me for granted." "Any prospects?" "Not yet. But I'm not worried about it. I'm happy with my life as it is. I'm not looking for someone to complete me or save me or give my life meaning. I'm looking for someone to share the good life I've already built." "That sounds healthy." "It sounds like something the old me never would have said. The old me thought she needed a husband to be complete. The new me knows she's complete all by herself." As they left the coffee shop, Angela linked arms with her sister. "I'm proud of you," she said. "For surviving this, for fighting back, for becoming someone stronger." "Thank you. And I'm sorry I ever doubted you. When you first told me about collecting evidence against Ryan, about planning your revenge, I thought you might be going too far. And now? Now I think you did exactly what you needed to do to protect yourself and get justice." "Good. Because I'm not sorry about any of it. Not even a little bit? Not even a little bit. Ryan and Monica made their choices and they faced the consequences. I made my choices and I got my life back." "And Tyler? Are you still in touch with him?" "Occasionally. We text sometimes, have coffee every few months. We helped each other through a difficult time, but we were never meant to be anything more than allies." "Why not?" "Because we bonded over being hurt, and that's not a foundation for a healthy relationship. We were both wounded and angry and we helped each other heal. but we've both moved on to building new lives instead of dwelling on the old ones. That evening, Natasha sat in her renovated kitchen, looking through travel brochures for her next adventure. She was planning a trip to Italy, something she had always wanted to do but Ryan had never been interested in. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. For a moment, her heart raced, wondering if Monica was somehow contacting her from prison. But when she opened the message, it was from a colleague at work. Saw your ex-husband's mugshot in the news today. You're better off without him. Hope you're doing well. Natasha deleted the message without responding. She didn't need reminders of Ryan's downfall or reassurances that she was better off without him. She knew exactly how much better her life was now. She opened her laptop and began researching Italian cooking classes in Tuscany. The old Natasha had dreamed of taking such a class with her husband. The new Natasha was going to take it by herself and love every minute of it. Her life wasn't what she had planned when she was 25 and walking down the aisle toward Ryan. It was better. It was hers, completely and entirely, in a way it had never been when she was half of a couple. She had learned that love meant nothing without respect, that trust meant nothing without honesty, and that loyalty meant nothing without reciprocity. She had learned that being alone was infinitely better than being with someone who didn't value her. Most importantly, she had learned that she was stronger than she ever imagined, more resilient than she had known, and capable of protecting herself in ways she had never needed to before. The betrayal that had nearly destroyed her had instead transformed her into someone better. Someone who knew her worth and demanded that others recognize it too. And as she booked her flight to Italy, Natasha Williams smiled at the woman she had become. She was finally, completely, perfectly herself. The old life was gone. The new life was just beginning. And it was going to be extraordinary.